I think contentment gives power to the ability to live on less than you earn. So if we're not going into contentment, we're going to live on more than we earn because we feel like we never have enough.
We're like that dog chasing its tail. Get on YouTube.
Welcome to Stewardology, a podcast where two worlds collide. In this show, financial advisor Tim Russell and Pastor Drew Gysi are joined by me, producer Tyler Rutherford, to explore the intersection of financial stewardship and theology. Their unique perspectives help Christians and churches understand and apply a biblical framework for everyday financial decisions so Christians everywhere can grow in their walk with Christ through biblical stewardship. Before we get started, we just wanted you to know that the topics discussed in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investment and investment strategies involve risk, including the potential loss of principal, and past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Securities and advisory services are offered through Genius Wealth Management, member FINRA, and SIPC. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Tim Russell, Drew Gysi, and Tyler Rutherford.
Welcome to the Stewardology Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Russell, joined by my two co-hosts, Drew Gysi.
Hello there, everybody.
And Tyler Rutherford.
Hi there, hello.
Now, this is going to be a really good episode. We're going to be talking today about the 7 habits of financially successful people. And we're going to try to do this from a Christian, we're going to do this from a Christian worldview and perspective. So buckle up, join us. I think this is going to be a very interesting, enjoyable, and educational ride. Don't you think, Drew?
Absolutely, because Cousin Monty is back.
Oh, no.
Cousin Monty is back. So
Your stinking cousin, I swear.
Well, you got to think about Cousin Monty when you're thinking of
apologize to all
financially
the Monties out
successful.
there.
When you think about financially successful people, you can't help but to think about Cousin Monty.
I can.
So, well, let's go this way. Imagine Cousin Monty comes bursting into your study with wild tales of overnight success and a 7-figure spreadsheet he's showing you right there.
Wow.
While his antics may make us laugh, his heart and his message, it's very serious from him. True financial success isn't about flashy cars or bank accounts or bragging rights, but it's about habits that last. Today, we're going to strip away the facade. We're going to focus on 7 proven habits that drive lasting wealth, all grounded in the Word of God. So let's get started before Cousin Monty bursts right into your kitchen and grabs another bag of chips and sits down on your couch. So let's take a look. We actually went online and posted a question about this. This was the question. What does financial success really mean or look like? Hey guys, what were some of these great responses we got from people?
You know, there's a lot of really good ones that sometimes I think we overthink the question.
Yes,
but
we
it's
do.
good. That's what we do. We're supposed to do that, But one of the responses was having all that you need to be able to afford. The wants are endless. So their response was meet the needs. That's how you know you're financially successful. Okay, interesting, good starting block there. Someone else said that it's the freedom to do what you want, where you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, while still giving to causes aligned with your values.
I like that.
That was thought out.
Yeah.
One person said to have everything on auto pay. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was very creative and definitely from the younger generation. They want to totally check out on the financial thing and just have it all done for them.
Just have it done.
I don't know that that's fair.
Well,
I'm an auto pay kind of guy. I love everything's auto pay. Everything is auto pay.
Really?
Yes, as much as I can because my life is complicated enough. I just need the finances run. So part of my budget process is to go look at all my auto pays and I build that into my recurring monthly budget. Anything that's an odd number, like a credit card. So yes, I have a credit card and I pay the balance off every month and I look at what that balance number is to make sure that I've got the money in the account to cover it when it comes through. So it's all part of my reconciliation process. So I would agree with him. Like I think what he's saying is he would love to be in the position where he's got the money in the account to have everything on auto pay and not have to worry about things bouncing.
Yeah.
So for this person, auto pay means success, means you have enough to be able to just be on autopilot and everything gets taken care of without having to worry about missing things or bouncing checks or juggling bills.
Yeah, and I guess I bring that up only because, see, I'm the oldest of the group here, and auto pay, I think I only have it on 2 things maybe because they're offering a discount because of that. And outside of that, we jump in and we do it. We have our own little routine we've been
Too
doing.
much work.
Well, the thing is, we try to streamline those bills and expenses. So a lot goes on credit card, like you just said. My wife and I live off of that, but then we go through and we reconcile the credit card.
Different strokes for different folks, Drew. Different strokes for different folks.
I'm the old guy here.
Well, someone else said breaking free from paycheck to paycheck living and building generational wealth.
I like that one a lot. I thought that was a good one.
A calm balance of work and play. Life isn't all about earning. I thought there was some interesting insights in that one where, when life becomes all about working, perhaps that's not success in their eyes. So they want a little bit of balance there. We love the word balance, right, Tim? Having a capacity to give $1,000 or more without budgetary concern. Very specific. Full control over purchase terms. No surprises, no headaches. Resting contentedly, knowing needs are met, generosity is possible, and future savings remain.
Nice.
Savings-based goals, mowing lawns as a teen, cash flow in college, avoiding debt in your 20s, and funding home care in your 80s. Again, very specific.
Well, again, but you notice what he's doing here. He's saying that financial success, and I say he, she, I don't know who it was, but financial success is different at different stages of life. For a teenager, financial freedom means you're out there working, you're mowing lawns, you're getting some cash. When you're in college, you're cash flowing your college expense. You're not going into debt as much as possible, right? You're avoiding student loans. Going into debt in your 20s, avoiding it is the sign of financial success. It says funding home care in your 80s so that you can stay safely in your home and not have to move into a nursing home. That, to this individual, is financial success. And I think that's helpful, recognizing there are different stages of life where success is going to look differently.
Yeah, that's important to recognize. This last one is probably my favorite definition given to us so far. It's living debt-free, meeting basic needs, tithing faithfully, and supporting family and others.
Man, he wrapped it all up there with a bow. Yeah. I like that.
Do you know what all of these have in common? Live on less than you earn.
Yeah, every single one of them.
You can't have money to give away. You can't have all of your bills on autopilot. You can't have, what is this? The capacity to give away $1,000 to meet, without budgetary concerns, unless you live on less than you earn.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's not rocket science. So we can boil down the 7 to 1. Live on less than you earn. Yeah. I think we should go into, at some point in the future episodes, how do you get to the point where you're from where you are not living on less than you earn, when your expenses are more than your income, to the place where you can live on less than you earn. Like, how do we get there?
I think that's a good title for another episode.
I think so too. Well, not today.
Not today.
So these were the responses that were given to us when I asked our online audience. I said, what does financial success mean? But what are our musings now? How would we define what financial success looks like? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Is it $1 million in the bank? Like, is it a dollar figure we're shooting for? Is it just simply peace of mind? Is it freedom to choose your work and rest and when you do those things? What do you guys think?
There are a lot of ways that the world is going to measure financial success. And many of them ultimately, the word financial is there, so it's going to have money is a big part of it. So many people think, I'm going to make it when I have $1 million. I'm going to make it when I have, one thing or another. I can remember when I first started working here, I was 26 years old. And this is, I say, first started working here, second time around. I started when I was 17. But, when I came back, when I was 26, I was talking to one of the other seasoned advisors, And I said, so what's the goal for retirement? Like when you get $100,000, is that enough? Is that good? To me, as a 26-year-old, that was like a pipe dream.
Sounds like a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. How in the world does anyone ever get that? Like if you had $100,000, like you should be good, right? And the older and wiser financial advisor said, well, Tim, it really depends on your lifestyle and how you live. Another example, I was speaking with a retired pastor and his wife yesterday, and a neat couple. And they've saved up a certain amount of money, and she looks at me and says, Tim, how is this? Is this a lot? Kind of middle? Too little? Like, how are we doing here? We're retired already, so it's kind of too late to do anything about it, but I just want to know, are we okay? Yeah. And the answer I said is, you're probably in the middle. It's not as much as I maybe would like to see, but you're debt free. You're living conservatively. You have a low expense generally. So you can actually live fully on your Social Securities, and it totally meets all of your needs. You're fine. The amount of money that you have, though it's not enough for some, is, I think, completely sufficient for you at this stage of your journey. And for them, it's financial success. So here's, I think, where the secret comes in. Financial success is going to be different for everyone, but I think there are a few keys that are required to achieve financial success, which is financial wisdom applied in your life, living within the priorities. We talk about give, save, spend, right? The first 3 of the 5 financial priorities. Are you giving? If you are giving, that is one of the significant components of financial success. The Bible again and again and again talks about the difference between those who are stingy and those who are generous. And the Bible proclaims widely and broadly that those who are generous have more to give, have their needs met. The Lord will enrich them, and those who are stingy come to want, come to ruin. So generosity is a habit that is built into our lives that leads to financial success. It's also an indication of financial success. It's both. Do you want to be financially successful? Be generous. Give. But that's not the only answer. We also have to save. We have to set aside money every single month for future expenses, because we live in a world controlled by the second law of thermodynamics, right? We live in a world controlled by the curse and the fall, the fact that things are going to break. Your car is going to need to be repaired. Your roof is going to have to be replaced. Therefore, have reserves. You are at some point not going to be 20 or 30 or 40. You are going to at some point need to or want to slow down and retire. You need to prepare. What's the secret here? You're living on less than you earn. What's the secret with giving? You're living on less than you earn. You're saving. You're living on less than you earn. And then when it comes to spending, that's the third category. We're simply being wise with our expenses. We're not spending on things frivolously or without thought or plan. We're focusing on necessities, and we're paying our bills on time. So you're having your yes be yes and your no be no. You said you're going to pay a bill, you're going to pay the bill. You borrowed the money, you're going to pay it back. You committed to your landlord, you're going to pay the rent, you're going to pay it, and you're going to pay it on time, if not early. That is wisdom applied, which God made the world to work this way, which leads to success. That, to me, is the way we get to financial success. Whatever it means to you, whatever that looks like for you, financial success requires a generous heart, a saving attitude, and one who keeps his words and spends wisely and well.
I think it's really important to remember, if you're listening in the audience, you're like, God, just get to the 7 habits of financially success. We're getting there. It's a long on ramp. But you need to remember you can succeed financially and still lose your soul, right? And how do we not do that? Well, we don't go down the paths of greed and doing the things like Tim was saying, spending frivolously and just not giving thought to things and turning money into an object of worship. That's how you go down that path. We don't want to go there. But what's the opposite of that? And we were chatting about this when we were planning out this episode. What is financial success, maybe from a biblical perspective? And Drew, you said the word contentment.
It boils down to that one word, contentment. I mean, I can't but think, 1 Timothy 6:6, but godliness with what?
Contentment.
Is great gain. Not just gain, but it's great gain. And we see in Deuteronomy 8:18, wealth is a gift. It is God who gives you the power to get wealth. So we got to look at it that it is God who allows this to happen to us. But the thing is, I think our faithfulness in what we're doing and how we're doing things, God then brings that upon us. What about Proverbs 11:25? Generosity flows from profit. Whoever brings blessings will be enriched. So the goal is here, let's bless others. Let's help others. And from that, God says, I got you covered.
Well, so yeah, the comment you have here is generosity flows from profit. And that is an absolute true thing. You can't have generosity without profit, without income, without revenue, business, right? To employ people and to do that. And that's true. But the verse you quote is actually the opposite of that. It's that generosity creates profit.
Yeah.
So it's chicken and egg. So you need some amount of financial wherewithal to be able to give. You can't give nothing.
Right.
But it does say that those who are generous are enriched, that God blesses those who give.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to my earlier point. I'm sorry, I kind of
that's
derailed you from your point there.
But I think as we boil down contentment, I think contentment gives power to the ability to live on less than you earn. So if we're not going into contentment, we're going to live on more than we earn because we feel like we never have enough.
We're like that dog chasing its tail. Get on YouTube, watch those dogs chasing their tails. They'll do it endlessly, endlessly, endlessly. And the bottom line is that's how many of us live today because that's what's being ingrained in TV, magazines, radio, stuff. You know, look at me, myself, and I, where Scripture is saying, wait a second, look at the Lord who brings us, and then follow these biblical principles and financial principles that, Tim, you just shared. And as we put those pieces together and we instill them into our heart and mind, that amazing thing called contentment, I'm okay with what God has provided. And guess what? If you get that sucker punch of life and it hits you, you make those adjustments. Why? Because you want to be content and thank the Lord with everything that He has given you.
So this episode is titled 7 Habits of Financially Successful People. And now that we've defined what financial success looks like, because believe it or not, we tried to write this episode without defining it first. We've got to have something to go off of. What are these 7 habits that we find in financially successful people?
Habit number 1 is financially successful people work hard and have accountability.
It's a good one.
They have to work hard. Success doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen without effort. You cannot sit on your couch and expect someone else to make you financially successful. That is the problem with so much of the younger generation that simply says that rich people are lazy and simply inherited all that money. It's just fundamentally not true. The vast majority of individuals who are financially successful got there through hard work, through diligence. Diligence leads to success. We see from Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work heartily as unto the Lord, not for man. This is what it means to be a hard worker. We're working for God. We're working to do His good work and to accomplish His good pleasure.
I stumbled upon that verse years ago, and that has been a driving factor for me because I came to the realization if I choose to make God my employer and seek to please Him, Tim, I hate to say it, I should be able to please you. Am I going to fail God and you periodically? Absolutely, I will. But my goal always, if I can please God, I should be able to please you as my employer. And that's how been my mindset for decades. And I think that's how we got to look at it. Whatever we're doing, however we're doing it, we are specifically looking that God is the one that we need to please.
Yeah, sure. But not all bosses are reasonable, and I'm not reasonable at sometimes, right? And so the reality
I'm
when
not
you're
going to
pleasing
say
God,
that publicly on air. I'm not going to.
It's a trap.
On grounds,
It's a trap.
on grounds it will incriminate me.
So, no, my point though is when you please God, even if you can't please your earthly boss, you're still doing the right thing.
Amen.
You're still doing the right thing, and God will honor that. Could you lose your job? Sure. If you have an unreasonable, ridiculous boss, that certainly could happen.
Sure.
But God's got you covered. You did the right thing.
Amen.
So we said hard work and accountability. Where does accountability come into this?
Well, the accountability, it's a godly accountability. I think you need to have accountability with your peers, with your coworkers, and I think with your friends, again. But what it comes down to is that openness and honesty with those that are around, people that you put around you that are willing to ask some of those hard questions about your work and your work ethic.
Don't surround yourself with people who will simply enforce a laziness and a minimum effort attitude.
Amen.
This quiet quitting kind of mentality. At work, put your head down and work. Surround yourself by friends and peers at work who are going to support work and mission and not discourage you from doing that. And at life, if you've got friends who are deadbeats and who are just putting in the minimum effort, I would say either A, find new friends, or B, be the change that your friend needs to see the value of work and of hard work. Keep each other accountable for accomplishing your goals and hitting your savings goals. Like, have a community of brothers and or sisters who will drive you to your commitments, to keep you to your commitments.
Can I just, you said something that just took a major flashback for me. You said find new friends, and some people kind of scoff at that and laugh at that. When I was 18 years old, I was working for an oil company. And I knew that I was going down a bad path. And I remember I was working the late graveyard shift, and I, of course, back then, weak in my faith, but when you talk to God, you got to look up. So I looked up, I said, God, if you don't want me to hang around these guys, you find me new friends with full onset attitude and angst and anger. Within days, God brought a whole new group of guys into my life, and I'm not kidding you. I was just with one the other day. And my wife and I were out with him and his wife the other week.
The answer to prayer.
And I will tell you, I've had 40-some years with these guys and their spouses and their kids. So you know what?
Pray that prayer.
If you're struggling and
Just
these
without the
friends are
attitude.
pulling you apart, God cares even about that. Get some good friends and good accountability in your life.
So the second habit of financially successful people is that they are committed to lifelong learning. Learn financial literacy, right? This includes from a biblical perspective. I would encourage you, go out and pick up a copy of the book, The Good Steward. Subscribe to the Stewardology Podcast. Go and watch other influencers online who speak wise and biblical wisdom regarding money, priorities, possessions, debt. These things are helpful and wise. Make sure that they are spiritually mature, not just giving you worldly wise wisdom, but giving you godly wisdom and godly counsel regarding these things. Having a biblical knowledge and having a biblical wisdom will transform your life and transform the way you deal with money.
You know, a couple of verses that kind of tie in on that. In that Proverbs 1:5, it says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. I love that verse, for it ties right in there, committed to that lifelong learning. And then also Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Yeah. And when you sit and you think about that, the scriptures are basically saying, become a learner. And that learning is, of course, with spiritual things, biblical things, which the scriptures talk a lot about financial things. It brings about a change and transformation in our lives. And Tim, I need to bring this up. Our next point is in this umbrella is book reading. Tim, how many books did you read last year?
I'm on track for
last year.
I'm on track for 202 this year. Last year was 195.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know that not everyone can do what I do.
That's correct.
I'm an audible like learner.
Right.
So I learn through what I hear. So I can listen to a lot of books and get a ton of content, and I do it very quickly. But this is my third point. There is wisdom to slowing down and read fewer books, but read them deeply.
Yeah.
And I would say that I could benefit from doing that more. So
but there's times
not just the quantity, but the quality of the books and the quality of the reading has the impact.
But there's times you have said, and you've shared with me, that you've listened to a book in the past, and it's like, you know what, I got to get back to that book. And you have done that. Yes. Yes. And I think that's of great value. There's a few books in my life that I go back to every couple years.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, I need a refresher course.
Yeah. So like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the influence for this episode is a book that everyone should read probably once a year.
Stephen Covey's book.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal, helpful book. Read the Bible, read other financially wise literature, but read. So to borrow and modify a quote from Neo from The Matrix, get books. Lots of books.
That is so good.
I think this is a really, really important piece, though. We put this at number 2, but I would argue, like, if you were rating them in importance, it'd be on the top of the list, because when you are committed to lifelong learning and reading good books, you also have to be good at taking constructive feedback in your own heart, in your own mind. Because we were talking this morning that ideas have consequences, right? Yeah. And when you read something and you say, oh, you know what? That's important. I need to implement something in my life, or I need to be doing something differently. We got to swallow our pride a little bit and grow. And I think if you have the ability to do that, you're on a good path.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say go through a book with a pen and a highlighter. Like, make notes, journal out some thoughts, interact with the ideas. That's really where the magic happens. All right. Let's move on to our third point. I think we could beat on number 2 forever. But a third point. Financially successful people, shocker, they live on less than they earn.
I've heard that somewhere before.
Where have we said that before? So they have a budget. They think about their spending. They have an emergency fund. And believe it or not, they avoid impulse shopping, impulse purchases.
And can I say that's the big one, I think, for a lot of people. I share this when we do our stewardship lifestyle seminar across the country. Nowadays, you go into the checking line at Walmart, Target, whatever place you go to, and they put the most needed things the things you need the most in life right there at the register. Yeah. Those Reese's peanut butter cups are waiting for you every single time.
I knew those peanut butter cups are going to show up in that line. Yes.
You know what? It's just one of those things. But the thing is, it's amazing how people relate to that, because they get in line and it's like they just don't grab one; they grab several. And they throw them on the register, and boom, 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 the price goes up on their total bill.
Well, the cash register isn't even as much of a problem anymore. I think it's more like you could easily punch in your credit card online on Amazon and get this thing in the next day.
You're doing Instagram, going through all the reels, and there's an ad comes up. You hit the button, before you know it, the less than a minute later, it's in your shopping cart and you paid for it.
And it's fast.
And you know what?
It's easy.
I have never done that.
Yeah, well,
I'm not on Instagram.
Well, good for you.
I am on Instagram, but
that's why
never
you're financially successful, Drew.
I just don't scroll through Instagram. I'm in my garage playing.
So here's a verse from Proverbs 21:20. You've heard us say it before, but precious treasure and oil is in the wise man's dwelling, but the fool devours all he has.
Yeah.
The wise man does have things, but they're not impulse things. They're precious things. They're valuable things. They're things that he's accumulated over time. He has reserves, and he's not going out and devouring all that he has. The word devour is the same Hebrew word used for the fish that swallowed up Jonah. It swallowed him up. You don't want to just devour your income. That is foolishness.
You know, what is that person to do with the extra? Instead of spending it on Reese's peanut butter cups and other things, they should take that little bit of money, build some savings, do some investing, use it. If you have debt, knock it down.
Knock it out. Knock it off.
I've heard that once or twice. Buy appreciating assets, and Reese's peanut butter cups are not appreciating assets.
They depreciate very fast.
They depreciate very, very fast.
Way to turn money into poop.
That's what I tried to say without saying.
Thanks, Tim, for saying what we were all thinking. So, maybe even turn around and give to others and invest in kingdom work, which lasts forever.
Sure.
I love that part.
All right.
So let's think about what we do with that little bit of extra that we can maybe not spend on things and take it and use it for other purposes.
Let's take that investing idea and let's move to point number 4. Financially successful people invest early and invest often. So it's very common to see people who are becoming millionaires putting 15 or 20% of their income towards retirement savings. They don't become millionaires by accident. They become millionaires through diligent effort, through denying the present in favor of the future. So if you want to be financially successful, invest, participate in your company's 401k. That is probably one of the most profound ways that people can grow their wealth. And when I say invest in the 401k, I don't mean just in the cash option. You need to be an investor. You need to invest that money into companies that are doing good things here around this world.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey did a study on millionaires, and they found that 8 out of 10 millionaires invested in their company's 401k plan and took advantage of the company match.
Brilliant.
It's not rocket science.
No, it's not. So seek some advice when it comes to investing. I would encourage you not to simply follow the TikTok trend or hop on the GameStop bandwagon, the Redditor group that just gets on the meme stocks and invest there. Get some professional help. That doesn't mean you have to have an advisor. In fact, I think many people starting out don't need an advisor, but you may need advice. This is a great place for you to reach out to us, get a stewardship review. If you are starting out and want to know how to invest, stewardship review could be a good way to start that process. If you've been investing for a while, you need just guidance and help. If you're trying to now think about how do I navigate towards retirement and what do I do with these assets and convert this asset into an income stream in retirement to be able to retire well, there's another great place for a stewardship review. So these are great ways for you to get the help that you need. Our organization exists to help Christians to become even better stewards of all of their assets. So go to our show notes page, stewardologypodcast.com, and sign up for your free stewardship review and get the help that you need. And then maybe one last point would be think about a financial finish line. How much is enough and how much is too much? That's probably well more in that one line that's worth an entirely separate episode. But that's something to put in the back of your mind. How much is enough? How much is too much?
Tim, what's number 5?
Number 5, the financially successful are wise with their use of debt. This is something that maybe is different from other financial experts you may see online. We believe that debt is not necessarily an evil. That debt, if we are commanded or Israel was condemned for not lending, or not lending to the poor, or not lending in the right way, the other side of the equation, the borrowing, is not always and in every situation sinful. So use debt wisely. What does that mean? Well, that means, look, avoid risky debt. What do you mean risky debt, Tim? Isn't all debt risky? Yes. All debt involves some amount of risk. But we're talking about 100% financing. When you're buying a house with zero down, when you're buying a car with zero down, that the car depreciates right away. That's not a good idea. What about borrowing and hoping that you'll have the money to pay it back? It's foolishness. Don't borrow until you have a guaranteed way to repay that loan.
Tim, did you say the word guarantee?
I did.
Explain that for a moment.
What I mean by guaranteed is that you have a plan to be able to pay off that debt, to be able to meet the monthly obligations that, frankly, I would argue if you're using a credit card to pay off the full amount right away without having to go into monthly payments.
That's a critical piece, especially today. Yeah. A lot of people are just driving up those credit card bills over and over and just bouncing it month to month to month.
Consumers should also avoid balloon loans. A balloon loan is where you pay back maybe interest only for a period of time, and that at some point down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, all of that interest is the payments for the interest goes away, and now you have to pay the entire principal balance off in one shot. And that can become incredibly cumbersome or difficult or impossible, can lead to financial disaster. Now, I recognize that in a business environment, balloon loans are not an uncommon thing. So just A, be aware that you have a loan, and B, have a plan to be able to repay that loan within the balloon period so that you are putting money down on principal fast enough to have it paid off by the time the balloon payment comes due, or have another plan to come up with the capital to refinance or to pay off that debt when it comes due. We also need to be aware of adjustable rate loans. Credit cards are an example of this. They are adjustable. So as interest rates go higher, your interest expense on your payment will increase. Home equity lines of credit are variable rate loans. They're not necessarily an evil, but they are something that you have to take into consideration because your monthly expenses will increase when they want more interest out of you every single month. So be wise with the use of your debt. Debt and greed usually go together. Be aware of that. We often will go into debt when greed is telling us, or fear of man is saying that people will like me better if I drive this kind of car, if I wear these kind of clothes, if I live in that kind of house. Contentment, Drew. You said contentment is the key to financial success, and you are not wrong. Greed is the way that we get ourselves into financial distress, not success. So avoid the impact of greed, making you use debt to satisfy your temporal desires.
That's a good point.
So there's some stupid debt. We've already talked about this in some ways. Credit cards, pay them off. I'm not anti-credit card, but hey, I'm anti-carrying a payment from month to month. Pay that sucker off right away. Payday loans, terrible idea.
Horrible.
We're talking easy 50, 60, 100% interest on an annualized basis for some of these loans. Absolute disasters. Car loans, be careful with car loans. I want you to avoid them. I want you to buy cars in cash. I want you to be wise and careful with it. We've talked about this in previous episodes, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Just be careful with car loans. They're a depreciating asset.
Two verses that come to mind when I start thinking about this one little topic here under this umbrella of 7, and that is, owe no one anything except to love each other, Romans 13:8. So let's try not to put ourselves in that point of owing something to somebody. Let's make sure that we're living on less than what we earn. Mm-hmm. And then the verse that many of us go running back to, Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and what? Money. And I think that's so important that we understand we're either going to love God passionately or we're going to like God and love money, or it may be any mixture in between. So I think it's very important that we kind of process this and understand that money can be a master And that debt can be that force of nature that pulls us down.
So we talked about car loans for a moment ago. The sixth point that I think is worth mentioning, financially successful people buy cars in cash. If you want to be successful, be really wise with the way that you invest in or the way you purchase your vehicles. Buying a vehicle and walking out with $500, $600 a month in a loan payment or a lease payment or more, right, is a financially devastating thing. Long term, it is financially devastating for you because you have to live on less than you earn, and debt always requires more of your income than we really can afford to pay if we're going to also be meeting our long-term goals, our savings and giving goals. So debt steals your ability to have freedom, to have flexibility, and to be generous and wise with your money. So, okay.
I just want to say, even just right around this table, Tyler, your last car you purchased with cash, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tim, your vehicle that you drive, you purchased with cash.
Last 3 vehicles I purchased were in cash, yeah.
And the same here. And we're not just talking about this just to be able to say, hey, do this. It's follow what we've done. Yes. And it has worked for us.
Yeah. I guess if I do the math, it's actually like 6 cars because I have to include my kids' cars in there
Yeah,
too.
you got to toss them in there.
Yeah. But they're really cheap. So.
But the bottom line is cash is that great thing for a depreciating asset as a vehicle.
Yeah.
And nowadays with the cost of vehicles, it is over the top expensive to have something. You know what? Just work your way up. If you have questions about that, jump into our previous episode that we talk about buying and owning cars. We talk specifically about some of the great ways to be able to kind of upstep and move up and get a better car year after year or in a couple of years.
Yeah, I've mentioned this on previous episodes, but I just want to throw this back in here. Whenever we have a client come in and they're maybe a little bit more high net worth individual, I'm always curious, like what kind of car are they driving?
Exactly.
And I swear more often than not, I go out and it's like a 15-year-old beater, like Toyota Camry or something. It might be a little bit nicer, but at the end of the day, they're not driving the $500,000 cars. Like they're not pulling in here with like the G-Wagons or, stuff like that. They're driving very affordable vehicles that they know that it's going to be reliable. It's going to work for them.
Yeah.
They're not spending buku bucks on vehicles.
It brought to mind, I have a 1999 Ford Ranger. It is what I call my beater truck. I drive it down to the airport when I travel for Life Institute because I don't mind them banging car doors into it. It's a beater. It's got 200,000 miles on it. And I drive that car when I'm in town to church every Sunday. Now, I drive the truck to church every Sunday. My wife hops in with me. She always wonders why we're driving the truck because it's all different colors. It's got a lot of rust on there. I'm the deacon of finance at my church. And I know some of the people are thinking, this is good. Deacon of finance driving in, beater pickup truck. Okay, he's got good priorities. And other people may be thinking, oh, deacon of finance, why is he driving that?
The church is in a rough spot.
The church is in a rough. But you know what? I drive it when I'm in town because I need to get some miles on it every single week. But the thing is, you know what? You don't need the flash and pizzazz. Let's be content. A 200,000 mile pickup truck, it works for me.
Yeah.
So what is the 7th habit of financially successful people?
This one is so important. Financially successful people stick with their plan.
Amen.
They build their plan out. They're consistent with their plan. They stick to their plan, even when things are uncomfortable. Now, that doesn't mean that when realities change, that you don't adjust the plan. But the point is that you're living with a plan. There's a saying, it says, all plans are worthless, but planning is priceless. And I do believe in that. So when I say they stick to their plan, I don't mean that they don't modify and adjust as realities change and as numbers change, but it is the process of planning and sticking to the process of planning that helps us to avoid impulse, that helps us to know where we want to go. What is the hill we're going to climb and conquer? That gives us direction, motivation, and the ability to track towards success, track towards that goal. So I think it is so important to plan. So I would tell you, build a plan, work on a plan, get an advisor who can help advise you on a plan if you don't know where to start. That's another place for you to, possibly reach out to us or another Christian financial firm to help you get a financial plan in place for how to reach your goals.
Galatians 6:9 says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." That's part of planning. Yeah. It's put a plan together. Let's stay the course, adjust as you need to down the road, but let's keep doing the plan. Why? Because it's going to reap good in that due season for you. So I think that's a good thing. Tim, when we were processing this, being the voracious reader that you are, a book kept on coming back to your mind. And what book was that you'd like to kind of put before our audience?
Atomic Habits is a great one. James Clear, Atomic Habits. I know a lot of people have probably already read it. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's absolutely worth listening to or reading or taking some time and familiarizing yourself with it. It's a good book. I would also say that, Dave Ramsey's, a lot of Dave Ramsey's books are frankly helpful. I don't subscribe to everything that he believes in, but there's enough there to say there's a lot of wisdom that you would be missing if you weren't aware of the Total Money Makeover or Baby Step Millionaires or some of the others that he's done that are just frankly helpful. There's really good stuff there that you should be aware of.
You know what? There's another one that comes to my mind, and I'm very familiar with it. I think it's called The Good Steward.
Yeah, I've heard of that before.
Have you heard of that?
I heard that the author's pretty sketchy, though.
I'm not going there. The Good Steward by our own co-host, Tim Russell, and his dad, Roy Russell. Can I just say, if some of what you have been listening to, it's getting you thinking in this right direction, but you want to put together a better framework and a consistent framework for today and into the future, jump on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, these places. The Good Steward by Tim Russell. Jump on board. It will share with you what we've talked about, the give, save, spend, offering, and luxuries, and putting that in the right priority order so you can become an even better steward.
So there's a few lessons I think we can learn from the rich fool, and we've already talked about this particular passage many times across many episodes. So if you want to take a deep dive, go back and listen to our episodes on the rich fool. But there's 4 points I think we can walk away from. And we've talked about this a lot this episode. Avoid covetousness. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Wealth is temporary, right? The stewardship responsibility is eternal. True wealth is measured by faithfulness and not figures. Right, it's a steward is to be found faithful. It's not. It doesn't say the steward is meant to be found with $1 million in their investment account. Right, meant to be found faithful.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's good.
And so take the challenge. Right, implement these habits in your life and see where it takes you. Honor God with every dollar. The beauty of these points here is you don't have to be rich in the sense that the culture defines rich to implement these things in your life. Right? Are you a hard worker? Mm-hmm. Can you live on less than you earn? Mm-hmm. Can you avoid dumb debt? Can you invest early and often? Can you buy that cheap beater car with cash? Right? Cars don't have to be $20,000, $30,000. And can you make a plan and stick to it? All of these things are things that we can implement in our lives no matter where we are at in our stewardship journey. So take the challenge, implement these things, see where it takes you, and let us know how it goes.
As Cousin Monty finally settles in onto the couch, your couch at your place, with another bag of your chips in his hands, he turns to you and gives you the thumbs up. These 7 habits of financially successful people make sense to him. Steady biblical discipline beats that flash every single time. These 7 habits aren't magic bullets, but they are tools to honor God with our resources and to find that thing that we kind of define this with, true contentment. Let's put these habits into practice, stewarding all that we've been given unto the Lord. And until next time, let's keep learning. Let's keep growing. And maybe next time, before Cousin Monty comes on over, put the chips in a different cabinet.
Until next time, take care. God bless. And remember to be committed to lifelong learning. Pick up a book today and read.
Thanks for joining us on the Stewardology Podcast, where financial stewardship and theology meet. We'd like to help you take your next steps in biblical financial stewardship. Subscribe in your podcast provider to get the newest episode delivered to you every week. Leave a 5-star rating and review to help new listeners find the show. Take advantage of your free personal stewardship review at stewardologypodcast.com/review. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at stewardologypodcast.com for tons of free resources and hundreds of free episodes. You can also leave episode ideas at stewardologypodcast.com/idea. Remember, Psalm 20, verse 7, some trust in chariots and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. See you next week.